All right, welcome everybody. So glad to have all of you. Looks like we got a bunch of great folks on. Welcome, and we're here to talk about really what's working on landing pages with a couple of incredible people on here, Zach Stuck and Kanika. Both really, I referred yesterday in a private chat to Kanika is my landing page Yoda, along with I would say shares that title probably with Ryan Doney. So that's pretty cool. If that can be split. And Zach Stuck, on top of being one of my closest friends, actually, is also a pretty good genius on landing pages himself in terms of really dialing it in. So that's what we're going to talk about today. My name's Andrew Foxwell. You might not know who I am, which is fine. Not really known that well. I run Foxwell Founders, which is a community of 500 digital marketers from 28 countries around the world, spending 300 million a month just on Meta. So it's really for people that are doing Meta and Google advertising, mostly in D2C and for direct response. Some of you on here are founder members. Some of you are not. Just say from the outset, if you're not a founder member, hit me up. Andrew, happy to give you a little bit of a code for coming on this webinar, a little discount if you would like to join to talk more about it. And also, this webinar is also brought to you by PageDeck, which Ryan Doney is the founder and CEO of PageDeck, and he'll build your first page on PageDeck for free. So look, a lot of offers coming at you. Good stuff right away in the morning, but we're going to get to questions at the end. I'll be keeping an eye on those too to try to chat with folks during the call, but we'll probably get to most of them at the end. But so let's go ahead and kick it off to Zach. Zach is, owns Homestead. Everybody knows Homestead, the agency, and also is primarily doing a lot now with Easy Street Brands. So his brands. So Zach, you want to give a little bit more context? You guys have been spending a ton. Things have been growing. Let's get into that nuance if we can.
Cool. Thanks, Andrew. So yeah, I can kind of go into rough agenda for today. I'll run through a quick intro like Andrew talked about. We'll talk about the evolution of landing pages specifically for my portfolio of brands. And then we'll go into kind of the key elements of iteration for these pages that we can work on. And then I'm going to share with you exactly what's working right now for my brands, as well as just kind of like a quick hack at the end, finding ways to use landing pages to unlock new audiences. So we can get right into it. So like Andrew said, I'm the founder of Homestead. We're a growth marketing agency for 7 and 9 figure brands. We currently have a team of 65. We've been around for a little over 4.5 years. We're actively managing around 150 million in advertising spend on Meta. And like I mentioned, and Andrew did as well, over the last kind of 2-3 years, I've been focused on building out our own portfolio of D2C brands. This year, we're pacing to hit about 25 million in revenue across that portfolio. So the reason that you're all here, though, besides me kind of shilling my background, is I've launched 100 landing pages over the last year. And I want to share lessons, failures, wins, all that good stuff with you guys today. So let's get right into it. So this is just a super brief screenshot of kind of evolution of pages for my brand Hollow. So for those of you who don't know me or aren't familiar with one of my brands, hollowsocks.com, we're an alpaca sock brand manufactured in the US. The context here is getting started with landing pages has never really been the easiest in the past. There's a lot of great tools like PageDeck, which we'll talk more about in a little bit here, that have made this a lot easier. But what I wanted to share is your first landing page is never going to be a silver bullet. A lot of people want to say they try it out, it doesn't work, they launched it in their ad account and they don't see immediate results. And they say, okay, landing pages aren't for me, they're not for my brand. And what I'm here today really to tell you is it's going to take some time and it's going to take some iteration to get there. So just wanted to share this is kind of some of the progression, kind of some of the things that you might see, and I'll talk more about of the different formats, the different types of pages, all that good stuff. So let's get into iterating on these pages. So I've tried to keep this as simple as possible, but also we can go in a little bit more deeper on each one. So I call them taking swings. So the biggest things that we're looking at across iterating on pages for our clients at Homestead and for my own brands is we kind of break it into 2 things: small swings, big swings. Small swings being headline tests, body copy. So this might be anything from a sub headline to a call to action on the page, creatives on the page, and then format. So one thing that Page Deck does a great job on, and I think Ryan and Konica are going to talk a little bit more about, is like the ability to A/B test pages and how we can test pages, which Konica will talk more about. A huge thing there is just like having this very quick ability to swap, add, remove sections on these pages by either doing kind of the things above, adding new headlines, adding new body sections, trying to do more education on these pages. So those are like your basic things that you can do, right? Pretty straightforward. Um, on the bigger swing side of things, this is where like you can do different products. Like obviously, I tell a lot of brands that start launching landing pages to always focus on their hero product first. Don't try and launch a landing page with like a subsidiary product that you're just trying to like, turn over inventory on, sell, anything like that. Try to focus first on your hero product, things that you have great margin on, things that you have a lot of inventory of, things that you can even potentially test offers with, which is kind of the next thing. Landing pages are amazing for testing offers. If this is something that you've like pushed back on, if you're a brand that doesn't necessarily run a lot of offer changes on your site, landing pages give a great solution for that. Things like percentage off, dollar off, free gift, buy one get one, buy more save more, which is one of my favorites. Things like that you don't want to have to go on your main site, roll out, change your pop-up, change your email flows, change all of these things to be able to test. This is where landing pages really come into play. Another huge thing that we've done specifically for my brands, Hollow and Frey, is a lot of price testing. Now, obviously, there's like ebbs and flows of performance on paid advertising. Right now, in the current ecosystem, there's definitely been some swings in performance on Meta over the last, call it 60, 90 days for a lot of brands. And this is where like I've even personally done a lot of price testing. So this is where potentially we might, increase our prices by $1 or $2, just small increments, but something that like I don't want to throw off on my main ecosystem, my main website. So using a landing page is like a great solution for that to kind of live in its own little world. So that's something that we do a lot of with these pages. And then the last thing is positioning. So I'm going to go deeper into this, but like, who are we selling to? What problems are we trying to solve? These are usually a lot of things that you're thinking about on your ad creative side, but this is things that I want to make sure people are thinking about when it comes to landing pages as well. So let's get more into that in a second here. So what I think the biggest value add that I can hopefully add right now to you is like, how can I fast track this? Maybe what can I do starting today, starting tomorrow, that I can just like take what's working from somebody else and apply it to my own brand. The nice thing is that I do have, a portfolio of my own brands. I'm happy to share kind of what's going on there. Obviously, I have to be a little bit more cautious about sharing what's working at the agency for our clients and all that good stuff. But I can share with you today what's kind of working for my own two biggest brands. So if you're not familiar with Frey, Frey is a laundry detergent business. We've had this business in our portfolio for about a year and a half. We acquired it. We didn't found it. The biggest thing for Frey that we've really tried to figure out is positioning. Now, landing pages and positioning go hand in hand. The thing that we've been trying to figure out for Frey is like, what is that one piece of language that's going to allow people to convert and allow people to actually choose us over the competitors? If you're in a space that has a ton of competition, a lot of other brands selling similar products, this is where landing pages are fantastic. So like something that we've done for Frey specifically is do a lot of copy testing. Now, when I say like copy testing, it can come from, like I said, the headline all the way down to like the specific nuance. From a visual standpoint, what I'm basically showing here of these 3 pages, these are iterations of pages that we've built. What we're learning for Frey is that actually adding more context, more education on the front end is what's actually allowing people to choose us over other brands. So as you can see, the first page here, I know it's not like super big for you. I believe we're going to be sending you these decks after the fact. If not, I can make sure I get this to Andrew and it gets kind of circulated. But this first page is a listicle style page. So if you're not familiar with like these templates, I know that Konica is going to go into deeper kind of explanation of all the different types of templates of landing pages that you can run. We usually start with listicle pages first, just because they're a little bit easier to implement. You can see 5 reasons why this product is right for you. What we've kind of done from there is we've segmented into, okay, what else, like what other sections, what other pieces of content, education can we do on this? First and foremost, we started adding, which you can't really tell right here, but there's, can I zoom in? Oh, maybe not. Oh shoot, sorry, 1 second. I won't do that again. Um, Basically, what we added into like the same content sections underneath those are reviews. So it's potentially talking about scent or the fragrance or the cleaning power, any other of these kind of value props or reasons why someone might buy the product. But then we found a review on our site that basically is affirmation of the same thing that we're trying to present. So if it's talking about scent, the review is talking about, oh my gosh, I can't believe how good my clothes smell after washing with this product. So that was something that we added in the second iteration of the page. Um, and then really outside of that, like we added in to the third version of this page is just generally more content. Things talking about the eco-friendliness, breaking that down because that's going to help convert some specific people, talking about our scent and our fragrance profile, which is going to help convert some people. Talking about like the washing power, talking about all of these things, right? So we've realized for Frey specifically, this brand, which is primarily a female demo, 20 to 50 as our core buyers, they want more information. They want to be educated more. So actually adding in more sections to these landing pages has helped us improve performance kind of month over month over month. And just some context, Frey spending 6 figures a month on meta ads. The biggest thing that I want to share is that we, for our brands, this one specifically, we're spending 80% of our ad spend pushing traffic to these landing pages versus like a collection page, PDP, or a homepage. That's how critical these pages are to our funnel and to like our brand success. And then the other, Andrew, you got a question?
I mean, I was just going to say, I think it's important to point out that, you often hear about less context being like, make it shorter, make it to the point. And the reality of it is like, actually the better off more information you could provide, the better. Which in like
And
sort
I
of
think that's
objection busting along the way, which is huge. And then I think it is important to point out because I'm a user of PageDeck myself, like it makes it easier to spool this up to like make the changes. Like that's one of the reasons that like you and Donnie really created like together kind of like page deck in and of itself is that you can do it fast. Like I've recommended to so many people, and it's like one brand owner, he was I told him about it on a Friday, and by Monday he's like, I have three templates going on page deck, and they're all doing better than what I was using. Like
yeah,
he did it
yeah.
himself, and so I think that is massive. You know, Obviously I'm biased, but I think that is a leg up.
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, just the ability to roll out new versions, I think is key. Um, to Andrew's point, talking about like additional context, I'm actually going to talk about my other brand, Hollow, and how for that demographic, less context is actually really, really helpful. So, um, anyways, back to this. Um, the other really key point that I want to call out here is for Frey specifically, we've tested uh, driving traffic on like a shoppable page where people will actually go from the page straight to checkout, as well as pushing people from the page straight to the product page. Now, for me, in kind of a lot of the tests that we run, we love these listicle style pages, information pages, and then we push them straight to a product page. So that's what's working for Frey right now. If you want to go hop into Facebook ad library, check out my ads, click on the links, and then you'll see the majority of those ads are pushing traffic to kind of one of these three style pages. All right, I'm going to jump over to Hollow next. Okay, so really, really important is demographic and understanding your demographic and knowing what's going to work for them, right? So to the point about Frey, key demographic, women 20 to 50, lots of education really helps convert them. On the other side, we have Hollow. Our key demo is 30 to 65 male. Less is more here, which is really interesting. So I think like trying to figure that out per brand is a really important piece. The other thing that I talked about earlier that was absolutely critical to our business with Hollow is being able to build out unique landing pages per cohort. So when I say that, I mean the way that we think about cohorts and kind of like the way that our business is set up is we have different types of customers using our product for completely different things. Someone who's a cyclist is not necessarily going to be the same type of buyer and want the same education as like a hunter or a construction worker or a even hiker, right? So what's been really, really great is we've been able to kind of dissect and figure out what are the reasons why this type of customer wants an improved product, which is socks in our example, and why that matters to them. So for someone that's into hiking, I mean, the biggest thing for them is dry feet comfort, no blisters. So again, making sure that like the content, the imagery, the visuals, everything on that page is basically compelling them to understand why our product is a better fit for them, which can go even deeper than just saying, hey, our socks are moisture wicking for everybody. Talking specifically to that cohort, specifically that customer, has helped increase return on ad spend when we're driving ads to that type of audience. The other thing here is, like I went, back to my previous slide for Hollow, we are spending in the mid six figures. I know that April will spend about $500,000 on Meta for this brand. 90% of our ad spend is driving traffic to these pages. That's how important these pages are as a part of the ecosystem. We've tested, we're constantly testing, retesting, pushing the product page, collection page, homepage, but we've always found that having these pages, having the ability to educate people before we try and pitch them and sell them on the product has always helped with conversion. So that's just like a really big thing. The other side of this too is you can see like we have 3 pages of like different progression. Funny enough, this first page on the left was one of the first pages Ryan and I built on Page Deck. It's very, very simple. We have tried our best to try and see if like, does something that's more complex actually convert better? And we still keep coming back to this very, very basic template. And again, I think it's really dependent on brand. I think it's really dependent on, what you're basically going for. If aesthetics are like a very forward thing in your business and a very forward thing with your brand, this is like super, super important that you can still tailor it to your brand. Versus like for us, we're really just trying to get that our product is function over fashion. So very, very like plain pages can work for us. But then again, like you're kind of seeing the progression of the pages, we start with the 5 reasons why. We then start to build out some additional sections that help convert. One of the key sections that we added is this kind of like faux PDP section. So it actually isn't like a buy box that you would see on a normal product page, but it resembles it. So everywhere in the page is kind of like allowing you to have links to push you down to that section. But as a consumer, kind of that formatting of having product image, kind of product title, couple bullet points, and then a call to action is very, very like they know that they're very comfortable with that format. So we found that by adding that section versus just even like a big kind of CTA button at the bottom has helped kind of even push more people from ad to page to product page and then convert. And then
Zach, quick question
additionally,
for you.
like Andrew said, lots of sections. The great thing about Page Deck is you can always like test one format versus another. This kind of final format is more of a unique format, more of like, definitely more context, more information. We've got value props. We've got an us versus them section. We've got this like photo grid on the bottom. We've tested this template versus the basic one for different cohorts, and it works for one of them. It doesn't work for any of the others. It works for kind of our more blue collar construction use case. And I think the reason that we found out there is that demographic specifically is definitely more cost conscious than like our hiking demographic. So they really need to be compelled. They need more reasons why that they should buy this product because it is a little bit more expensive than what they're used to buying at like a traditional, store. So again, for that demographic specifically, we've built pages that are more robust, add more reasons why, educate more on why they should try our product versus kind of the average. So here's my kind of last slide, last little tidbit I have before I pass it over to Kanika. And I think this is really, really important. I think this is where a lot of brands can unlock more scale. So again, the biggest thing that a lot of people come to Homestead, even reach out to me on Twitter or just reach out to me through friends is, hey, how are you getting your ad account to be able to spend, from 100,000 to 250 to 500,000 to $1 million? And the biggest thing that we've learned is we essentially build these cohorts, right? So this first example here is a post-purchase survey where we're asking customers, hey, what are you using our product for? Why are you buying our product? There's a lot of questions you can ask here that can prompt the idea of like, hey, can I go break out into a new customer segment? Can I break out into a new audience? And one thing that we didn't realize was that a lot of customers last fall were buying our product specifically for this kind of blue collar construction workwear use case. So outdoor work, as you see, is one of the things listed here. It was actually, we just had people clicking other and then filling out like work, construction, all that kind of stuff. So we added it in. And then we realized that it was even a bigger segment once we had outdoor work as a part of it. That led us to be like, okay, wow, like we definitely need to build out ad creatives, landing pages that talk to that audience, because we know that there's like a big segment of our customers that we're saying that you should buy for hiking or for hunting or for, other things like that are actually using it for a completely different use case. So we took that. We also then incorporated that into like our pop-up on site, where then again, this is kind of pre-purchase. So these are even people that haven't even gotten through the idea to buy yet and are kind of still hesitant to buy. And we realized even more of our segment was people that are using and potentially want to use the product for outdoor work. So that's kind of the first version of like our pop-up. So we could even see pre-purchase people that are even like colder, haven't purchased all the way. What percentage of them are actually wanting to use it for that? All of that leads to, okay, great, let's build a landing page specifically for that. So as you can see here, this is one of the landing pages we built I think this was even like last summer, that we really identified this. And forget wool, alpaca makes the hardest working sock. The whole page is focused on that use case. We hired, content creators to shoot the product in use. We talk about, specifically for that type of demographic, why this product is great for them. And we've opened up a huge new segment. This is now, 15% of our revenue is coming from this specific cohort that we never would have known existed. And thanks to kind of like post-purchase survey, pop-up collection, all the way to landing pages, we've been able to unlock that now. So just a little hack in case you're in a spot where you're like, hey, I feel like I know exactly who my customer is, but I want to try and sell to more people. This is a great path for you to kind of figure that out. And using landing pages as like that additional stage in your acquisition funnel is just a great way to get, higher return on ad spend out of that demo.
Good. Zach, before you hop off, first of all, this is awesome. Second of all, since you're managing both of these brands that Hollow side, very much cohorts, personalized, very specific messaging on these landers, versus the Fray stuff, which is maybe a little more evergreen, maybe scales a little bit better. And those are kind of your two choices with landers, right? You can get super specific, or you can try to get a very optimized landing page that kind of works for everything. How would you suggest to someone which path is the right one? Like, how did you figure out that Hollow was the right brand for the cohort strategy versus Fray being right for maybe a more general messaging strategy?
Yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost, it's just like iterating, right? Like just trying things. I think like that's where a lot of brands will kind of hang it up and say, hey, we only sell to this type of customer, and this is like our positioning. You have to try more new things, right? So we wouldn't have known that hunting was going to be a big kind of cohort for Hollow unless we like tried incorporating some of that into the pages. So like we would take a general page that was just talking about alpaca socks versus wool socks, and then we would incorporate into one of those sections like, hey, hunters and outdoor enthusiasts love our product. We realized that people were like paying attention, reading that. Konica will kind of go into like ways that you can track these types of things on the pages. And then we're like, oh, wow, like a lot of people are clicking the CTA button in that section. I wonder if we spin up a page around hunting, if that'll actually like lead to more results. So that's kind of like how we identified it, is just like iterating, trying new things, which again, just like takes effort, takes a little bit of time. It's just part of this game. Where for Fray, on the other hand, again, like our SKU selection is a lot more segmented. It's a lot tighter. So we've kind of identified, we have a liquid detergent product and then this like detergent sheet product. We've identified it with landing pages, with ads, that our detergent sheets is like a better acquisition funnel. We can get people in the door there, cost of traffic. It's like a newer, more exciting product. So positioning that first still can get people in the door and actually give them the opportunity to choose. So that's kind of how we've gone about it, is just really, throwing stuff at the wall and seeing if anything sticks. But trying to use some of that data that Konica will kind of talk about, of how we look at it, heat maps, stuff like that, to make that decision.
Love it. And I think we're going to let Konica get started. But one last question before that, because I think it's a good one. From Connor in the chat, are there any formats that you found didn't work for Hollow at all, specifically? in terms of landing page format?
Yeah, so we've tested, which kind of cool, kind of go into these like three options here: shoppables, advertorials, listicles, and then there's like a few others that we haven't really gone deeper into. But advertorials specifically for Hollow didn't do great. They've done a little bit better on the Fray side. We just found like that specific demo, males 30 to 55, more this blue collar, hunters, outdoor enthusiasts, kind of want to be straight to the point, and they don't want all of this text, right? Where a demo that's more like Fray, that's looking for a lot of education and looking to be basically sold into why you're better, an advertorial would work, potentially better over there. So we've tested advertorials for Hollow, didn't work. We've tested, now on the other side, we've tested shoppable pages, which is basically page straight to checkout for Fray. Our issue with that is our AOV was too low. So we were acquiring customers at a pretty decent rate, but our average order value was like, 70% of our site average order value, which was then our cost per acquisition wasn't really significantly lower. So it didn't make as much sense. So that's kind of why we've shifted to this strategy for both.
Let me steal the screen. All right, all good. You guys can see that? I hope yes, because I can. All right, guys, I love everything that Zach said. It is the exact types of brands that we love to work with, are the exact ways that Zach and his brands think about things. So if you weren't taking notes, watch the recording or definitely go through all the materials that we send afterwards, because that was incredible. So now I'm going to kind of take it back and say, all right, if you guys don't really know, where do you get started? How do you consider all these things? How do we get to where Zach is with Fray and with Hollow? Here's what you do. Real quick, people probably don't know me as well as Zach. I'm not that popular, but about me, I'm the founder of Better Agency. Excuse me. Just getting over like the plague from last week. We're a CRO agency. We focus very heavily on landing pages. Why do we do that? Background on me, I spent 7 years in VC-backed tech. So before I got into the DTC world, I was in VC-backed tech startups. And there was a point where I was head of growth. I had to go in front of the stakeholders, and they said, hey, we're not going to give you more money. We're not going to give you more hires. You got to hit our goals. And at that point, I had to focus on efficiency. And how did we do that? Through landing pages. And landing pages drove major growth for us. So that became kind of my point of obsession. And with that, I stayed in that space for a number of years, but I started Beta in 2019. I had started consulting in D2C and e-commerce and seeing the potential, started seeing that landing pages can work really well in e-com the way that they had in SaaS, and brought it over. And, as Zach has shown you, there is so much potential. There's so much efficiency. There's so much growth leverage with landing pages that, we went all in. Excuse me. All right. So agenda for me and us today, getting into customer research. So Zach talked a lot about how they figured out, their messaging, how they figured out different content, what to focus on. We're going to talk about how you can do that too. Choosing a landing page format. Again, same thing. There's a bunch of different formats that we went through with Zach. Listicles was a big focus, but there's other things that you can consider as well. And your customer research is going to help show you which direction you should go in. We're going to go into testing and tracking performance. I did see a couple of questions that were in there for Zach about tracking and how to test. So we'll talk about that a little bit as well. Also how you can, look at performance and iterate on it. We'll go into that. And then if we have time, I think we'll go into kind of following that same process as Zach and looking at how we kind of iterated and got to that win. So customer research. This is so key to a successful landing page. There are so many things that you should do before you really just dive in and start adding content to a page. You can do that, right? If you have a really good idea of all these things that I'm going to get into, sure, you can start building. But if you want to kind of go in with the strongest foot forward, a few things that I would always recommend you look at. One is going to be past performance. So where do you even start? I absolutely agree with Zach. He said, if you have a hero product that drives the majority of your revenue, majority of your profit, hopefully, that's a really good spot to begin. And you start looking at your past ads. what were the angles that worked really well? What were the creatives that worked really well? Was it static? Was it video? Start considering those things. Were there other, things that you tried that didn't really work so well? Maybe that's not a road you want to go down. So take a look at that, and that can help first align, okay, where do we begin? One of the biggest things that you need to always consider is that with CRO, with landing page testing, you have to make sure at a decent baseline, because if they're not, you're kind of dead in the water before they even get there, right? If you can't get decent buyer anymore, but if you're not getting decent cost per clicks, if you're not getting decent click-through rates, if you're not getting even decent cost per acquisition, that allows you to test and to start scaling beyond that. Even if you get people to your landing page, it's not going to do much for you, right? So make sure that you start with a foundation of something that works generally, not good enough. Okay, so that's past performance. Audience research. So again, if you have not done a lot of audience research, start landing pages, you need to do that. I'm sure that you've done some level of it because you have ads that are converting to some degree. But things to focus on for audience research, cohorts. We do a ton of that. I love that Zach touched on it. You can go beyond just behavioral, or you can go beyond just sort of their lifestyles. You can look at age groups. Sometimes you'll be surprised. What we see oftentimes is that there can be age cohorts of, say, that you typically focus on 20 to 40, but then you look at your data and you see that, holy crap, you know what? 40 to 60-year-olds convert at 3 times the conversion rate, 3 times the rate as our 20 to 40-year-olds. Maybe there is some. I'm kind of getting into other ideas to start testing, but audience research will tell you things like that. And who do you need to focus on? Who is converting? If you don't know that, okay, wow, between our 20 to 40-year-olds, 30-year-olds are the ones that are converting the best. Get into their lifestyles. What are they doing? What are their biggest hesitations day over day? That is something that you can focus on copy and will oftentimes be such a huge unlock for you. What are their frustrations, right? What will cause them to have the worst day? What will cause them to have the best day? How does your product fit into that? And are there things that they're not thinking about? I saw an ad recently for a bra product, and I think they did a great job with audience research because, washing bras is the worst. It's so annoying. And, their ad was talking about, you know what? Every time you wash it, this bra gets better. And you just dump it in. Okay, cool. You clicked on it, you see their landing page, and they're talking about all the different problems that go into, washing your bras, traditional bras, that type of thing. So figure out if there's certain pain points that exist for your audience. On-site behavioral research. This is super critical in figuring out what elements you want to add to your landing page. So what I mean by on-site behavioral research, click maps, scroll maps, heat maps, video recordings. Take a look and see what are the elements, say on your PDP, for example. What are the elements on your PDPs that, I'm going to make sure that I'm not frozen. Okay, am I good, guys? Okay, all right, thanks, Zach. Perfect. So on-site behavioral research, click maps, scroll maps, heat maps, video recordings. So on your PDPs, for example, you're going to want to go back and say, okay,
what it's worth.
What are people
some
clicking
people might
on
be having issues, but
as they're going through my PDP?
They might have to check your recording.
Are there certain images that people are clicking on and engaging with a ton? Are there certain areas of maybe my description? Maybe you have other sections on your PDP that people are clicking on, that people are scrolling down to. Even better, video recordings. When you're watching video recordings, are there certain areas of maybe your PDP or your homepage, wherever you're sending the bulk of your traffic, wherever, those past performing winners that you're going to focus on are sending people to right now, kind of your controls? What are people doing currently? Are there certain CTAs that they're clicking on more than others, even if they're further down the page? Video recordings are your best friend. They are going to show you patterns in behavior, things that you can't necessarily see from click maps. Video recordings will tell you. It's kind of that bridge between just qualitative data and just quantitative data. It tells you kind of the in between, what's actually going on. Are people stopping to read certain content that you're not really sure if they care about? Video recordings will tell you that, because you can literally watch them stop and kind of, people tend to, use their mouse to help them read if they're older. But you can watch them do those things. You can see which videos they're watching. So take that information, honestly, make a list of it, right? Here are the top, that's what we do. Here are the top 4 things that people interact with for clicks. Here are the top 4 things that people behaviorally are doing, patterns that people are taking. Here's generally where people are scrolling, right? Scroll can be difficult because sometimes it doesn't mean that the content below the average scroll is a failure. It just means that you're not necessarily capturing attention that well higher up on the page. So where are you losing people? That's a better place to focus and say, okay, maybe this isn't the type of content I need to put on the page. And then external research. One of our favorite ways to conduct external research is through forums. So places like Reddit, Quora, there's a lot of specialized forums as well. Those are gold mines for information. You can type in either your product name or your brand name. If you're generally well-known. If you're not so well-known, type in a competitor, or you can just type in the type of product it is, right? So shampoo bars, for example. Type that in. Generally speaking, there's going to be dozens of conversations for you to go through, and you can see, what are people asking? What are people considering when they might make a purchase? What do people hate potentially about maybe your brand, maybe a competitor's brand? What are the top questions that they have? Just what is being said in those conversations? That gives you an incredible point to start and weave those pieces of information into your landing pages, whether they're listicles, whether they're hero product landing pages, whatever it may be. Now you have a focus point. Here's what a lot of people are wondering about. We need to make sure to either squash this hesitation, or we need to make sure that we focus on this so that they don't go and leave and start going on Reddit themselves and looking for the answer. We want to give them the answer. All right. So then the types of landing pages that you can choose between, there's 3 that are generally a really good starting point to consider. And so again, there's a few different things to think about when you're choosing, but for listicles, like Zach said, these are so easy to implement. They're really quick to just get up and running out of the gate, especially with things like Page Deck. You can basically pop in your information. More time is going to be spent on creating the content than building the page, which frankly is how it should be, right? You need to figure out how to communicate with your customers. Once you have that, you can build these pages in, a couple hours maximum, depending on, how complex you want to get. Otherwise, you could even do this in probably 15, 20 minutes, maybe less if you're super speedy. So reasons that you might want to consider a listicle, besides being easy to implement, it works for a lot of brands. So, whether you are a coffee brand like this, whether you sell socks, whether you sell laundry detergent, whether you sell shoes, there are millions of applications for listicles, and you really just have to think about reasons why people might love it, right? Or reasons why this is going to change your life. Reasons why it's better than X, Y, or Z. There's a lot of applications, and you can basically put this in action in a very short amount of time. And like I said before, copy and creative do the selling here. So you don't need to worry about really intricate designs. You don't have to worry about, complex functionalities. You don't have to worry about a whole lot when you're putting together a listicle. You just want to kind of pre-sell ad, right? People are going to see your ad. They're going to say, that looks really interesting. You've generated demand. So they're going to, whatever they said, whatever they showed me in this ad, I think I like that. Okay, click through. Next step, this listicle, all you need to do is give them a number of reasons to tell them, yeah, you were right to be interested. Here's why now you're going to go ahead and check out because of this. When you're doing your audience research, what you found out was people get really frustrated by how sweaty their feet are, right? Your feet are not going to be sweaty. That's one reason. People are really, really concerned because maybe their socks fall apart really quickly. Well, reason number 2, these are going to last you. They're not going to fall apart and get holes in 2 weeks. right? So use that audience research, put it into the listicle, and once you have that, you're good to go. Second type of landing page, Zach talked about as well, hero product landing pages. So these are fantastic if you have one or two or just a handful of SKUs that really drive the majority of your revenue. You can basically take a lot of your learnings from your PDPs if you have them, and you can apply them to your hero product landing pages. And these are great for people who are kind of expecting a more traditional experience. So again, take a step back, think through your ad, think through what they're clicking on, whatever context they have. Maybe you had a really educational video. Maybe you had something that, basically has gotten them to the point of selling. Okay, this looks good. I think I want it past that line to, okay, yes, I'm 100% in. And so the reason that hero product landing pages can be a good choice over listicles is you need to get more into those features. You need to get more into the specifications. And maybe it's not necessarily as much education upfront. It's more giving them a variety of objection handling sections and comparisons, that type of thing. So hero product, there's a lot of design flexibility as well. So I know Zach had mentioned, if you have a simple brand and you just want to kind of get them the reasons really quick and get them over to their PDP, great. You don't need to go crazy with the design. If you have a lot of, branding focus and you have, some pretty sophisticated stuff that you want to put in there, you have a lot more flexibility to add various sections in here. Same thing with if there's certain pieces of information that make a huge difference for your audience to be able to purchase, then hero product PDPs, landing pages to PDPs are fantastic. So for sure that people hate having to wash their bras. Maybe you need to go deeper into that. So having a dedicated section for something like that might be better than necessarily having a listicle that just gives a high-level snapshot view of things. And then again, kind of the same thing where if you have certain learnings from your PDPs, you can add them to landing pages, vice versa. As long as it's not too specific to the ad context or the ad content that they saw beforehand, then a lot of the times you can take the learnings, you can take the wins from your landing page and also apply them to your site pages. Remember, you don't want to just take everything from your landing page and put it on your site page, because there are different experiences when people have certain information before they click that contributes to their overall experience and it contributes to that conversion rate. So think about that when you're considering what to kind of bring back and forth. But it's a really good way to kind of be able to leverage wins from landing pages onto your main site. All right, then we have advertorials. So again, another really good example from Zach. This is something that might not necessarily be a great fit across the board, kind of like listicles. Advertorials, on the other hand, they are fantastic for any sort of product, any sort of niche or industry that needs a lot of education, or that is something that people just love to research, even if it's something that's fairly simple. They just want to compare, right? Maybe there's a lot of different ingredients involved. Maybe there's a lot of different materials that are part of the composition. So I'm thinking like pans, cookware, right? So there's certain things that are straightforward in theory, but people really want to go deep on them. Advertorials are fantastic for this. One, they're fantastic if you have a very strong copywriting team, or if you're a strong copywriter yourself. This is almost a match made in heaven for you. This will allow you to really get into direct response, talking about all the different problems and agitating the problem and then introducing your solution. Two, this will also allow you to come from a point of view that could be from another authority, or it could be from somebody that's really relatable to your audience, right? So if you have a team member, or if you have somebody that you can work with to create an advertorial who is perfect for your customer demo, right? Maybe it's a mom who lives in a suburb and she has 3 young kids, constantly balancing those kids and her full-time job, has a higher income. Great. She's going to be perfectly relatable to maybe women who are looking for a certain type of supplement, you can have her write this from her point of view so that people feel, your target audience, as they click through their ads, they feel like, okay, she's just like me. She has experienced the same issues and she talks about them. She's gone through the same processes and she talks about that. Perfect. That gets them from, skeptical to, okay, awesome. I'm pretty bought in. And you can do that really well with advertorials. And then for older users, of course, as well, right? They're very used to, blogs and news articles, that type of thing. So it's a very familiar format for them to click through from, say, Meta, from specifically Facebook. Click through from Facebook and they land an article. That's all it used to be. And so they're used to that format, and it really matches the kind of experience that not only they know well, but they expect. So a few different kind of products, a few different types of, again, industries that I've seen advertorials work really well for. Medical types of things. So supplements, again, anything that seems to solve, again, medical health types of things solve. This, for example, that's on the screen right now. So things that can be kind of straightforward, but there's a lot of things to consider, right? So, how do I get rid of, or what is the best mothball for my solution? Or what's the best solution for moths in my area? I could use mothballs, but oh my God, there's something really terrible about them. Exterminators are really expensive. Oh, wow, there's another solution, right? So you can kind of get deep into comparing different things. And if there, I guess, let me back up. If there is something that people don't really know a lot about and you can shock them, sort of like this, advertorials are fantastic. Again, if it's a supplement, advertorials work so well for things like supplements, it's unbelievable. If it's something that people tend to go really deep on, so I already said health, but another area that I've seen this work incredibly well for is like pets. If there's certain things that you are giving your pet, so food, again, supplements, if there's like grooming types of things, stuff that people don't know that much about, but they want the best for them. Same thing, kids, they want the best. Advertorials are fantastic. That's a great way to look at it. That really takes them from that consideration phase to that conversion ready phase. You win. So that's what you want to focus on. And again, that's what you're going to figure out as you do your research and your analysis. I'm going to speed it up because I know we have a few minutes and I know we've unfortunately had some Riverside issues, and we'll try to get to some questions. So alternative formats to think about later on. Founder letter. This can be very similar to a listicle if you have tried founder style ads. So you have the founder talking about, why they started the brand, what it means to them, all of that good stuff, which historically have been fantastic ads in a lot of the brands I've seen and worked with. Founder letters can be great. Collection style landing pages are similar to hero SKU landing pages. And so this is one that's pretty actually interchangeable, I would say, with hero. If you are a very large SKU store, then you might not necessarily have a single SKU that you can or want to focus on. But if you're sending a lot of traffic to collections pages, collection style landing pages are fantastic because you can go deeper on the information. You can give them a lot more context and again, like we've been talking about, hesitation busters, comparisons, that type of thing on that landing page that you can't really do on a collections page. And then comparison, I kind of started talking about that anyways, but if there's major competitors that your audience is considering, it's a great way to try an advertorial. You can do this with a listicle as well. Here's how they stack up against us. What do I need to test a landing page for? So I could talk about this forever, but just to give you some rules of thumb, 2 weeks is basically our minimum. Even if you have a high amount of traffic and high volume of purchases, 2 weeks is still what we generally recommend because it takes into account daily variances. If you had one fantastic Tuesday, if you did this on Meta, you wouldn't say, okay, great. For the rest of time, Tuesdays are going to be our best day, right? 2 weeks of data, yeah, that's not that much more, but we have seen it make quite a difference. So regardless if you have lower traffic, higher traffic, 2 weeks is the minimum that you want to go for. 2 to 4 weeks is a good window to consider. For landing page testing specifically, if you have a control that you're testing it against, it's really a big swing, right? Because your control I guess let me say that again. If you have a control that is a site page that you're testing against, that's a big swing. So if you have a PDP that you're testing against, a home page that you're testing against, a collections page that you're testing against, and you create a landing page to test against it, that is a very different experience. So when you test those things, generally speaking, you don't need such a massive amount of volume that you typically do for smaller kind of isolated tests. So our rule of thumb, it's still not necessarily a tiny amount of traffic, but we want to get at least 5,000 people through that test. So about 2,500 per variant. Generally speaking, that's enough to get enough purchase volume and just behavior to be able to get stat sig. But you might need to adjust that up a little bit if you have less volume. Considerations would be AOV. If you have a really high AOV, then yeah, you probably need to run that test for longer because that volume of transactions is much lower. All right, so we are getting to the end, but tools that you should use to track performance. Microsoft Clarity is fantastic. It's free, and that's going to help you do a lot of the behavioral and on-site research that I talked about. So scroll depth, how far are people going? Where are they dropping off? Is that information that they're dropping off at? Is that relevant? Is it not helpful? Maybe that's not something you need to include. How do we kind of prioritize this on our landing pages? Click maps, again, I covered that. What are people actually interacting with? Screen recordings. Use these, please. The best information I can give you to analyze and iterate. Install Clarity. Let it gather data for 2 weeks on your key pages. Plug your computer into your TV, sit back, grab a drink, grab some food, let it autoplay for an hour and a half. Write down the patterns that you're seeing. As you see the patterns again, just do little tallies. Okay, we saw this again, we saw this again. At the end of that, hour and a half, 2 hours, you're going to see what people are doing over and over again. Then you're going to be able to say, okay, people are confused by this, they like this, they hate this. Let's put this into our landing page. And then GA4 really quick, look at things like campaign traffic source to be able to track where they're coming from, how they're actually performing. Look at bounce rate. Bounce rate is a good indicator that headline testing is going to be a good thing for you to try out. Also, site speed. PageDeck is great on speed. Total sessions, make sure you're getting enough sessions. Same thing, purchases revenue. And then you'll be able to look at the actual conversion rate, average order value, and then the revenue per session. Ideally, you can also look at profit per session if you know your COGS, or you can calculate it. All right, I'm going to skip the live review. Let's just get into questions really quick, Zach, if there are any that we want to cover in like a minute or two. And then we'll see. Yeah.
Cool. I think there was like one that I can help answer briefly. I think Jack and then someone else asked about. I don't even know if that's it for a moment. Yeah, so I think the biggest thing there is, yes, we have tested it. Obviously, there's like a cost component to a platform like that. I think it's like 1,000 plus a month. Now that said, we tested it briefly, mostly for the video feature, less of the landing page feature. I think a solution like PageDeck is obviously a more affordable solution to kind of nail a lot of those things, pre-built templates, all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think tools like that are very interesting. I don't think there's anything more that I can really share outside of the way that we kind of look at testing and look at the data, which I think is kind of what you were trying to get at, Jack, with your question, which is like, so we're building, the one thing that Ryan has done a great job of helping us with is we have like a landing page tracking tool that allows us to look at like a 1-day click conversion basis from GA4 data on kind of how that landing page is converting. We also use a tool for attribution like Northbeam. That's kind of our North Star to kind of dictate it, as well as even like looking at motion, in platform, all the things. So one thing that my internal team has built is kind of a tool just to look at all of those different data points and then kind of come up with a summary of like, here's where we're going. The issue is like when you have all these different tools is like you always want one source of truth, and that's what we use Northbeam for internally. So that's kind of how we handle it, Jack, is we use a few of these tools to kind of look at, time on landing page, the click through from landing page to PDP. Like I said, a majority of our pages are listicle style pages where we push traffic to that landing page first and then over to a product page. And then we're using Northbeam 1-day click as And we do the same for the clients over at Homestead to make those decisions. But I haven't used formats like, so we usually have a general landing page that kind of covers the bases. So we'll kind of test initially with an ad just to see if like, even just like the in-platform metrics are looking interesting, click-through rates, cost of traffic,
perfect. I love that.
Whatever, video view rate, things like that, to see like, are people actually paying attention to this ad, let alone clicking through to the next page. And if we're seeing some traction there, then we'll usually duplicate out a general landing page, general listicle, and build out like a cohort specific one. So yeah, not going all the way there yet. We kind of just use ads to at least get a little temperature test first, and then go deeper. Two other components, obviously, if you're not a member of the Founders Group, Foxwell Founders Group, definitely go check it out. I'm in there. A lot of our team at Homesteaders in there. I know Kanika, Ryan are in there. There's a lot of great resources for founders as well as just marketers in general, brand owners, all of that stuff. I would definitely go check it out. And then Ryan Doney offered this earlier. I'm not sure if everyone heard this in the call, but for everyone that hasn't tried landing pages, is looking for a new platform, definitely reach out to Ryan at PageDeck. He's willing to build your first page for free, which is amazing. Again, kind of what Kanika and I were talking about. Getting your foot in the door, getting started is like just kind of the first piece. If Ryan can help build your first page, the great thing about PageDeck is you can sit there and iterate on it as much as you'd like. So definitely take advantage of that. I think that's everything, everyone. Appreciate all of you that came and listened and asked questions in the chat. Feel free to reach out to all of us individually. After the fact, if you have questions, you can find some of us on Twitter. Otherwise, you can reach out to us in the Founders Group. So thanks, everyone, for your time today. I'm going to kind of let Shane wrap things up on our end internally, but have a good day, everyone.